What's going on? This is Grayson Grundhafer with Sic'Em 365, and I'm here with, of course, Brian Etheridge, and we're back. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've done a recruiting podcast and segment, especially here in studio. And so we get to talk about Baylor's Weekend of Champions Junior Day, a really, really nice event today. And they wrapped that up kind of later in the night. They were watching the Bengals-Chiefs game to finish some things off. And we have a lot to talk about from today, but I would say we have to start with the big news, right? Christian Brathwaite, the 2023 linebacker out of Cy Ranch. The Cy Ranch connection continues. He committed to Baylor today. Austin Novosad actually told us in studio that he was committing, so that was kind of cool as well. He was sitting around a table with Sean Bell and Mikael Harrison-Pilot and, of course, Austin Novosad when he made that decision. So Baylor gets up to number 8, eight guys in the class, and that's where they're at right now.
4 stars, 3 high 3 stars. This is going to be this could be really a monster class. I mean, Christian was somebody we saw right after
March,
the COVID pause type thing. We saw him in Durant, Oklahoma, and Harold Perkins was there.
Yes,
and I confused Christian with Harold Perkins.
I remember that. Yeah.
They were the same size, moved well, and then you saw Harold. They were going one back to back, and they looked like the same player. And then we found out that he was a year younger, and I was like, "Wow, this kid's going to blow up." And I talked to him after he had no offers, no one had talked to him, and then Baylor offered in January after his sophomore year, and now he's a Bear.
Yeah, and I mean, he's a fantastic athlete. I actually got to see him in person, and I went to a Cy Ranch game to see Romario Noel.
Yeah.
And I got to see him a little bit, got to see Bryce Simpson as well. Drake Dabney's on the roster. The Cy Ranch connection is really big, and Baylor's really done a nice job of capitalizing on that. And Brathwaite's cool because we had the junior day last year, media day, really, when a lot of guys came, and he was the only 2023 prospect that was there that day.
That's true.
That's he's been a priority. He's been an absolute priority for this staff, and I think that's what makes this one so special is that he was clearly a guy that it felt like he was going to blow up, and he didn't quite blow up to the extent that I thought he would, but he did blow up a little bit, and Baylor just kept talking to him, kept making him important. And now you get to this day and he goes, you know what? Why am I waiting any longer? It's time.
Yeah, I mean, they made him a priority. He is a terrific athlete. He did come off, he had a little injury last year, but that's not really anything to worry about. He's gonna be a 235, 240 kind of inside linebacker. He's gonna be just dangerous in Dave Aranda's defense.
Yeah, and he's got the speed to play Mike Orwell.
He does.
He really does. He's very, very athletic and underappreciated in that aspect of the game. And when I saw him in person, I was really impressed. He can really play, even though he's a great athlete, and that's what we're primarily going to talk about with him is great athlete, a very raw physical specimen. But you watch him play in person, you go, man, he plays really fast. He's got some instincts, which is big at the linebacker spot, as we've seen with Dylan Doyle and Trell Bernard and Jalen Petrie, who aren't going to blow anybody away at the combine, but you put them in Dave Aranda's defense, they have the instincts to make plays. Now imagine a guy that's running, low 4.6s, high 4.5s at that position, and you start going, what can they do?
This is the kind of guy that when everybody goes, he's SEC defenses, this is the guy that LSU would plug and play. Yeah. Or Alabama would plug and play. That's the kind of athlete he is and the kind of size he is, and now he's going to be a Baylor Bear.
Yeah, and, I don't want to brag too much about, what we do at Sic'Em 365, but we got predictions in.
Oh,
what I mean, when was
I can't even tell you when I put the prediction.
We had 2 predictions in so far in advance with him, just because it felt like the writing was on the wall, right? So
January 16th of 2021 for me,
the day after he was offered, I think.
Correct, and then May 18th, 2021 for you. I mean, you took a little longer. I was like, nope, no, it's a done deal. When I talked to him and talked to his parents at that camp, and they loved Baylor. They loved what Baylor stood for, and that's what it had. That's all it was.
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of other guys that we can talk about from the visit and talk about some other things, but I do think it's really important that we start with actually talking about Baylor's new wide receiver coach actually being a junior day. So that was kind of a hidden topic. I wasn't sure if he was going to be there.
Yeah.
But Mikael Harrison-Pilot told me he was there. He got to talk to the receivers and got to start building relationships with guys who are on campus. And I mean, Montrell Hatton, the Carthage receiver, he's been a big time prospect for them. them. Decaney, wide receiver Jonah Wilson, Aldine Eisenhower, wide receiver Ryan Niblett, and then, of course, Mikael Harrison-Pilot. So he was able to build a relationship with them. I think that was really important.
Yeah, and Pilot mentioned, Mikael mentioned that he enjoyed talking to him, and he likes him. He said he was very impressive and somebody that so if that's the case, I mean, another great hire by Dave Aranda.
Yeah, and we'll see how he does on the recruiting trail, because I do think that's the area that they're wanting him to improve the position. Because, I like Chancey Stuckey, but I do think he left a little bit to be desired in his recruiting regards. When you talk about the class, you go Neighbors and Armani Winfield, and you go, it was a great class. But if you really dive deep into it, Armani Winfield was a Juice Johnson get. I mean, that's just plain and simple. And Jordan Neighbors was at first James Blanchard found him. They built a great relationship, but he ended up just building a relationship with the whole staff. It wasn't really one guy or anything like that. And that's why you're seeing they're still very happy with their commitment.
Yeah, they talked about, and then, I think Mikael talked about, I think I forgot who else mentioned him as well during your interviews, was he told his story of why he was here and how he came here and how he got to be here and what he went through to get here. And they said it touched him. So that's it's good. Yeah,
and I think that leads right into Mikael Harrison-Pilot, who got to talk to Armani Winfield, got to talk to Monterey Baldwin on his visit. So two guys that are young and that he's getting to kind of see their role and see how he could fit in at Baylor. And I think that Mikael is one of those guys where I'm at the point where I'm thinking he's a must-land guy. And the reason I say that is because he lives so close, the connection's so strong, the relationships are so strong, and I know 46 offers, that's going to be tough to overcome. I get that. Everyone wants him. But at the end of the day, you got to find a way to win a few of these. And I do think that this could be a situation where Baylor lands a guy like him.
And then that's one thing. He understands the part of, the issue, or not issue, but Baylor is looking to keep people home and keeping the Central Texas prospects around in Waco. And I think it's a big sell for him. He mentioned it being a big sell, and it's something that interests him. And he made good relationships today with the staff, or furthered them with Dallas Baker and the rest of the staff. He seemed like he like it was home, and it made an impression on him.
Yeah, definitely. And that was really impressive to see. Like I said, other wide receivers were on campus today, had good visits. So let's stick with the offensive side, and then we'll move to the defense. So Austin Novosad was here. He seems as locked in as ever. Yeah. He's doing track. He's going to do some hurdles, go out there and have some fun, try to get his speed up even more than it is right now. So he seems locked in. I'm not worried about him at all.
He's locked in. Family's locked in.
Love Sean Bell.
All Baylor gear, and they walked in. Yeah, and, hitting up Pilot, hitting up anybody they could. He's recruiting hard for Baylor. He's locked in.
Yeah, and the main thing Austin was saying was he was here to recruit guys. Yeah. Like, he made that very apparent. He was here to recruit guys to come to Baylor with him, and I would say he did a pretty good job. And I've mentioned this a few times, but I know a lot of people were talking about Zach Pyron, like, as a recruiter, as a guy that helped build the class last year. I'm sorry, that was simply not the case. Like, I know he had good relationships, but when he decommitted, there's a reason that the class didn't take a big hit, or that there wasn't a huge step back, because they had other leaders, Kyler Jordan, Trey Emery. Like, they had guys that were leaders in that class. But I think this is one of the first times that Baylor's getting a quarterback in the class that I truly think can make a difference on the recruiting trail, especially because of his 7-on-7 team.
Yeah, and that is something that he is a loaded 7-on-7 team.
Loaded.
But the one thing about him, the arm talent is there. Oh, yeah. It's real. So if you have that real arm talent, people see it. There's no denying his arm talent. He's 6'4".
Yeah, I know he towered over me.
He did. He towered over you today.
And I saw him like a month ago.
Yeah,
and
he's grown.
Yeah,
he's grown since obviously since we saw him back in June.
Yeah,
but good, humble kid. Gonna be really strong in that offense.
I'm excited to see him at the Elite 11. He'll probably have a great performance, make it to the Elite 11. I would think. I think he'll make it to that 23 or 24 invites that they have, and then it's probably all going to come down to where you're committed. Sadly,
politics is always right. Yeah.
Sadly, but he'll perform really well. So I'm excited to see that. So moving on to the running back position. Marquise Collins was here, College Station running back, nearly led them to a state championship. I mean, kid is phenomenal. I really love him. Would love for him to be a part of this class. I just think there's something special about him. He has a little bit of an it factor. LJ Martin out of El Paso, he was here today as well. He's a good all-around back. He kind of does everything well. A little bit bigger than Marquise, a little bit taller, lankier.
Do you think Martin could be somebody who can move to safety? I mean, be in the secondary or possibly even
potentially.
He's
it's
long
all about his speed, though.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think that he's an athlete. Again, coming out of El Paso, is he going to be a running back or is he going to be an athlete?
Yeah, and then the Abram Smith clone, who at least I feel like he's an Abram Smith clone, is a Hershey running back, Marion Peterson.
Yeah.
I think he is literally Abram Smith, except he's bigger than Abram was in high school.
6'1" versus 5'11".
Yeah, and he's a battering ram.
He
I
is.
mean, you just hand him the ball and he wears down a defense. And so I like him a lot. But I do think there's room in this class to take 2 running backs. I really do. And I think if you can land 2 special ones, like I believe Amarian and Marquise Collins are, I think you do it. I think both
or
are
LJ
worth
Martin,
the
either
take.
one of them. You take any of those 3.
Yeah, I think so too. And those have been the main guys they've been recruiting at the position as well. Okay, so we talked a little bit about wide receiver.
Yeah.
Talked a little bit through those guys. Obviously, Jonah Wilson's blown up a little bit on the trail. Got the Ohio State offer. It's a big one. I mean,
out of the blue,
yeah, wow. Montrell Hatton. He's probably been honestly throughout the process outside of Mikael Harrison Pilot. I feel like Montrell Hatton has been on Baylor's radar the longest out of all of these guys.
I'd agree with you, yeah.
Yeah, and then Ryan Niblett, obviously at the camp, we saw him. Explosive playmaker there. So moving on to tight end, really interesting that Austin Novosad mentioned Reed McKeska as a guy that he talked to a lot. I'm still very confused on what Baylor's trying to do there. I thought they would only take 1 tight end, and they have Hawkins Poly committed. But I guess they're saying Reed McKeska might just be a best available type, and that definitely could be the case. Or maybe they think they need more depth at tight end.
They played 2 tight ends quite a bit, and they even played 3 tight ends.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. H-back role.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things. I mean, I think Kelsey Johnson is more H-back than tight end.
I think so too.
And so that's possibility where you're seeing that if they take 2 this year, that would be Reed and Hawkins about because they do have an H-back.
And I think Kyan Roberts-Day is a athlete. You know what I mean? Like
that. Yeah, I'd play him both ways at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I just let him do what he wants to because he's that kind of athlete. He's an explosive, big athlete who could play H-back, tight end, or defensive end, or linebacker. Again, the sky's the limit for that kid when he gets here on campus and gets in a weight program. We just do not know where he's going to go physically because I'm thinking he's probably not had the best nutrition and weightlifting program up there compared to what he's going to get when he gets to Baylor and runs into the bank. And
I mean, he's the biggest freak in that class.
Correct.
He absolutely is. But the question is can he capitalize on that and turn the rawness into?
Yeah. How much bigger is he going to be? And again, you can
he's going to be bigger than 6'4", 250?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, holy cow.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is he turn into a defensive end at 275, 280 and just keep
crazy
and keep that explosion? If that's the case, you just go, hey, we'll just go to the NFL and play for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. Yeah.
So, okay, now we're going to talk about the big boys up front, big offensive linemen. Jaden Chapman was a late cancellation. He had a family emergency come up, so he didn't make it on campus. But Vic Shaw out of Pleasant Grove, we got to see him in person.
I like him a lot.
I do too.
I mean, yeah.
And he was the weird one. He had the offensive line and defensive line offer. I do think that he's actually leaning towards defensive line.
He liked defensive line is what he said, but he can do either, and that's
right.
That's such a versatile thing to see, and he has special traits at both.
Yeah,
both.
And DJ's been his primary recruiter, so that's why I say I think Baylor might be moving on from the offensive line thought, even though, yes, I think he could play both as well. Wes Tucker was on campus out of Argyle. Justin DeLeon, the commit, out of HM King.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of DeLeon.
Huge fan.
He's a road grader.
Yes.
He gets in there and moves
Perfect
the pile.
guard.
I mean, he's starting to catch some local state attention right now. He'll blow up a little bit further, but he's gotten some offers. I think what TCU, Tech, and some other people have offered him since. He's been solid. Came to campus. He's happy as a bear. That guy he's going to move the pile when he gets on campus. And I think that Wes Tucker, we've seen him coming off injury. Another kid that has a future, just depending on his brother right now is at Texas Tech. Baylor offered his brother, but seems to be interested in Baylor. quite a bit more, and we'll see what happens with him. He needs to, I think he'll probably come to camp, and we'll see how he is after the shoulder surgery. But, he's got the ability to play some tackle.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going to need a tackle in this class. And I do think that one of the things that we saw on this visit is they had a lot of guards on campus. Connor Stroh, maybe a right tackle, probably a right tackle because he's just so big.
Yeah.
But no left tackles. I don't see a left tackle in this group.
Yeah, I don't think so either at this point. The guys, I mean, maybe Jaden Chapman, but mostly he's a right tackle guard.
I think so too.
Just unless he's 6'5" now. I think he's around 6'3.5", 6'4". Victor Shaw maybe could play left tackle, but he's around 6'3", 6'4" as well. Yeah. So that's the question of that. I mean, you usually have the guys 6'5", 6'6" out there. Zeke Robinson here at Lamar, maybe. I think he's more right tackle.
I think he's more right tackle. I think he might even be a guard. He's got to show me more athleticism wise.
And that's the thing. We'll get to see. And we're going off of their sophomore tape, right? So we'll get to see them.
Junior tape.
Junior tape. I'm sorry. Yeah. We'll get to see them at the Under Armour and Nike coming up here in what, month and a half or so, 2 months. So once we see them there, we might go, okay, he's a left tackle. And but right now, that's where we're seeing. I think Stroh is right tackle or guard. I have questions on his feet right now, but I mean, if we go see him, he is huge. He is somebody you're going to run around like a mountain. And Baylor offered him for a reason. But we go see him at one of the camps, and if his feet are good, then you're like, yeah, definite left tackle. If not, you're okay. He's right tackle.
Yeah, and I'll talk to him tomorrow. So I'm curious how his visit went. I know Texas had kind of been leaning a little bit where he visited.
Leader. He's been there and saw it. So
there was one rumor that I heard, and I haven't confirmed it yet, but I heard that Free State High School offensive lineman Calvin Clements was on campus today, and I know that Eric Mateos was out there in January, going by and seeing him. 6'7", 275. I think that they're going to go out of state for the left tackle spot. I think it's kind of a weak class.
That's what I'm saying. Have you seen Texas left tackle?
No.
There's not a whole lot of them.
Probably the best offensive lineman in the state is probably TJ Shanahan, and he is for sure a guard, like 100% a guard.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part, right? Because you and I both have talked about, I know you value tackle way more. I do too. Obviously, if it's a left tackle, that's the value, right?
That's the guy who gets paid in the NFL.
Right. And Calvin Clements might end up being that guy. If he was truly on campus, that's big news because he's a very good player. I know Jacob Anderson, the offensive lineman from Montana, he visited during the season. He's another left tackle prospect, in my opinion. So they got some offers out there, but it's out of state guys.
There's another kid at Colorado that was at camp, and they offered him as well. It was like 6'8" or so, but
they didn't offer him.
Oh, that's right, they did.
Yeah,
that's
Thomason,
right. That's
Ethan
right.
Thomason.
Yeah, he came in, but they didn't offer. That is correct. That is the weird thing, in because 2022 had a ton of tackles.
Yeah, ton.
And now 2023 doesn't. So the state and Mateos
gives and takes.
Yeah, Mateo's been out in Utah quite a bit and seeing some offers coming out of that location. So
definitely. So moving on to defense. Colton Vasek didn't come today at Austin Westlake. That was kind of a bummer. He's a guy that Baylor's definitely turned the corner on. They're really trying to get him on campus, get he and his family on campus. That will be a big one. I think he will come in March. I do think he will visit at some point. But one guy we did get to see today, and first time I've seen him in person, Ansel Nadore out of Round Rock, and holy cow. I posted before the visit, that if he is 6'3" or 6'4", he is a 4-star prospect.
He's a 4-star.
End of story.
4-star.
He's a 4-star.
Go ahead. Hey, I thought
huge.
I thought it was his dad when he first walked in. I was like, and then he came and he looks that mature. I was like, whoa! And then his dad walked around. And I was like, he is a big kid with long arms, big hands, big shoulders.
No bad weight.
At all. Big frame. He is going to. He's going to be in this defense. He's a defensive tackle.
Yeah,
he's gonna. He's like he's gonna be 6'4", 300 pounds, and just having a great time inside.
I know, and just so explosive on film. I know he visited Tech. They were his first offer. He got the Texas offer, and there's going to be a lot more schools. He's special. He's a special one. So was excited to talk to him for the first time in person. So he's a big one. He's a big riser for me from today. For sure, some other guys, Ashton Porter out of Cy Ranch, Lakeview Centennial defensive end, Trey Wilson, who has been to Baylor. a million times. And then Tulsa Union, defensive tackle Demarion Thomas, another massive human being who would fit into the nose tackle spot in this Baylor scheme, which they need one in this class.
Yeah, and I really like his tape. It looks like he had a great time. We haven't been able to talk to him yet, but yeah, I really love his tape. I think that's somebody that really could just go in that nose guard position and do damage for Baylor.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he's one who could be another big riser. I know Baylor's been talking to him a ton. DK Kalu, I'm confused on if he showed up or not. He told me he was coming. I know he posted the SMU visit, so maybe he went to SMU instead?
Or he came through and stopped and then went up.
To both.
I mean, because the one he did from SMU was like 30, 40 minutes ago, around 7 o'clock. So he could be up there after, because it's just an hour and a half drive. So he might have done that, and they're just coming back through. But I haven't heard back from him. I don't know if you've heard back from him.
He just told me he couldn't come by the studio. So okay. I don't know if he was here.
So that means they got in the car and drove up there, and he went and saw both. He got 2 in one day.
Yeah, there you go. So he's another one that I know Baylor really likes. So moving on to the linebacker spot, they got the commit with Christian Brathwaite, but 2 guys that I absolutely have to mention because they came by the studio today. North Crowley linebacker, Samaje Burrell. Very good prospect. He's rising. His recruitment's rising. And then, of course, Marlin linebacker Darian Gillette, who, honestly, after seeing him today, matching that with his film, I think there's a case that he's a top 10 player in the state of Texas.
It's gonna be difficult just because he is at a 2A school.
Yes.
But the athleticism, the size, is there.
He's huge.
He is huge. He is a really great kid. It's going to be really interesting if Baylor can keep him home. I think they're going to throw everything they can at him to keep him here. You and I were talking about this. If you have Gillette, Burrell, and Braithwaite all in the linebacker class, dirty.
That's the best linebacker class they've ever had.
Going to be close.
Yeah.
If it's not, it's really, really, really.
I can't think of one that's better because I can't think of a prospect that would be better than Gillette.
The funny thing is, I see this group in dating myself here, right? With the Curtis Jones, Gary Bandy group, and that was back in the mid '90s, early to mid '90s, and I see Burrell as the Curtis, I see Gillette as the Bandy. And then I just forgot the other guy's name, but they had such a athletic threesome right there across the linebacker, and they were running they ran a 3-4 at times. Because Curtis was about a 6'1", about 215 kind of guy at linebacker, and that's sort of Samaje, but just a quick striker. And Gillette is just Bandy was an athletic freak. Gillette's an athletic freak, and then you have Brathwaite also an athletic freak.
Yeah.
Plugging the holes. So that would be the class I'd put him up against. And I mean, people can look back before that and go back to Hancock and those guys in the mid '80s. But that's where I have it right now.
Yeah, and I see Samaje as possibly the Mike. I could say, like, if that situation happened, I think he'd probably be the Mike. I think that Brathwaite would be the Will, and then I think that Gillette would be the Jack in that situation. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be hard for Gillette to not be the Will in this defense.
I mean, it's going to be like a bunch of ants just running on, just destroying people.
Yes.
They're all 3 of these are so fast, and they all are so physical. It is going to be. I mean, it's just,
And it's so different than what they had this year. And I know, like, Bernard is such a good player, so instinctual, and he's so fast because he thinks so fast. But the athleticism, the ball tracking side to side, like, if they get guys like this,
you're not outrun him to the edge.
You're not. No. You're just not.
No, and that's the one thing that, the Baylor hasn't seen in some time. And these are the kind of guys you have to go to that next level, where you're not just winning the Sugar Bowl, but you are knocking on the college football playoff door on the defensive side, and that's the level of defensive players these are.
Right. So moving on to the outside linebacker spot, Braylon Shelby, Corey Kelly, they were on campus as well. Like both of them a lot. Yeah. I'd be fine with either one. I think you can probably only take one. I think Kelly is the one where you go athletic ceiling, and Shelby you look at and go production. Productive player, longer, taller, both very good.
Yeah, Corey Kelly's got a lot of football ahead of him. That's the one thing down at Clear Falls. They have they have a good program and they've been winning, but Kelly has the opportunity to athletically to do things that most people can't.
Yeah, definitely see that. At safety, Corey Huff, Tyler Turner, Javion Wilcox, they're committed at the safety spot. So that position is locked in right now.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to add another one. Cornerback, though, position they definitely need. Jakevian Rogers is committed, so that's good there. But then Tayshawn Wilson, Caden Fortson, Bravion Rogers, Chance Rucker on campus today. Bravion is my favorite out of this group. But if they could find a way to get Bravion, Tayshawn, those two.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Crazy class.
It is. And that's what we're seeing it, right? We're starting to see, the recruits take notice of the defense and what they're doing. And, Dave Aranda gets you to the NFL. And Baylor can get you to the NFL. And there's 8 guys right now in the Senior Bowls. Mm-hmm. They're all going to, they're going to get their shot.
Yeah,
and that's not including other guys that didn't, that are also, signed with agents working out elsewhere. I mean, they're going to get their shots as well. So, Pro Day is going to be a fun time for Baylor fans to watch what happens with them and just tracking it all as we go through. And those guys that's future guys. I mean, Tayshawn, Bravion, Jakevian, they're future guys for shots at the NFL.
Yeah, and Chance Rucker is a riser for me as well. And he's a guy who's a recent offer, so the relationship's still building there. So we'll see how that ends up playing out with him. But overall, a great day. I would say a great day. We had a few guys come in and do some interviews. That was a lot of fun. I'll talk to more throughout the week. So there'll be a lot of updates about how Junior Day went. But overall, an exciting time. And I think Baylor Nation has to be really happy with where this 2023 class is at.
I agree. I think this is, 8 players committed right now, by the end of January, maybe 9, but right now there's 8. You got another day to go, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. Can't say enough about, Landon Brathwaite. I'm just excited for that, to see him come and play for Baylor and then cover him during that time. And he can be special.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a Junior Day wrap up with myself and, of course, Brian Etheridge. And I guess we won't talk to y'all again until we do a camp report. But
we have Under Armour.
Under Armour, yeah. I don't know if we'll be here.
No, probably not here, but we can record it somewhere over there and have fun.
Cool. Well, we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening.